Hi, and welcome to this edition of the Alaska Report. Of all the Alaska reports that we do during the year, I really like these ones that I do in the summer the best. These are the ones where I get to introduce you to some very special guests that I have here in the studio. This week, it's my second session of Summer Interns. And unlike other Alaska reports, we do a scenario here where the tables are kind of turned. It will be answering the questions rather than asking the questions. Over the past couple of weeks, these hard-working young Alaskans have gotten a behind-the-scenes glimpse of how the United States Senate works. Each intern has special time, whether it's attending meetings and hearings with me or helping my staff do research, other work around the office, but also in their free time. They are able to get out, explore Washington, D.C. This is a very talented group of young Alaskans, and they are getting ready to go back to Alaska probably for just a few days before they have to go off to college in the fall. So I'm very pleased and very happy to welcome them to the Alaska Report and give you as viewers an opportunity to see some of the fine young people that I have an opportunity to get to know through our summer internship program. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to introduce yourself, let our viewers know where you're from, the high school that you've just graduated from. I think most of our viewers know that our internship program is somewhat unique in that you all have just graduated high school. This is not a college internship program. It's a pretty special program here in the United States Senate and began back in the days of Senator Ted Stevens, and we've been able to continue that. So what we'll do is we'll just start over here with you, Sarah, if you want to introduce yourself and identify your town, your school, and then whatever question you have that's on your mind.
Well, hi, my name is Sarah Pearson. I just graduated from West Valley High School in Fairbanks. And first of all, I'd like to thank you very much for having us here today. It's been a really great experience for us all.
Good.
So my question for you is, have you always wanted to be a senator, or did you have other career plans when you were younger?
I did not always want to be a senator. In fact, could not even imagine being a United States senator. I wanted to be a teacher. My very early impressions of my grandmother was that of a teacher. She was a third grade teacher in Ketchikan, and she died when I was still very young, but the stories that I have heard about her was that she was loved by her students. I love learning, and I love sharing what I know, and that's one of the reasons why I think I enjoy working for Alaska so much in the United States Senate, because I feel like I'm constantly educating people about issues that are important to our state. But when I began, I wanted to be a teacher. In fact, it was right up until midway through college that I was focusing on education, signed up as an education major. And it was a teacher in Econ 101 who expressed very little confidence in my ability to continue in his class and suggested that I might want to drop it. And I couldn't believe that he didn't have any faith in me. So not only did I stay in his class and passed his class, but I decided to change my major to economics. And, you know, the rest of the story continues. But I so support what our educators around the state and around the country do for our kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amber Vernon. I'm from Unalaska Dutch Harbor and also a recent graduate from Unalaska City High School. And I was wondering, what do you predict will be the future resource for energy production in Alaska?
Well, we know, Amber, that Alaska really does have it all. Think about our fossil fuel resources. We have amazing reserves of oil, of natural gas. We are, to use the expression, the Saudi Arabia of coal. We truly have enormous potential there. But when many people on the outside fail to appreciate is that we also have a very rich potential with our renewable energy resources, whether it be geothermal, our biomass prospects in places like Southeast, in the Tongass. In your part of the country, think about our ability to power communities if we could harness the power of the tides or wave energy, the marine hydrokinetics, harnessing some of the power that comes from our amazing rivers in our state. So when you think about what we have available to us in Alaska, whether geothermal, hydrokinetic, wind, solar, a lot of people don't think we have solar, but we have great solar prospects in the state of Alaska. So our challenge really is not finding that energy resource, whether it be fossil or renewable. It's how we tap into it, how we can access it in a way that is cost effective. Part of our problem is we've got a very small customer base. We only have 700,000 people in the state. Out in Unalaska, you're not part of anybody's grid out there. So it's almost like having these little mini grids. So when you don't have economies of scale, it can really add to your cost. And that's been the challenge for us in Alaska. So what I think where our future lies is in how we can really bring some of these energy projects to scale, reduce the costs. Let's enhance our technologies, reduce the costs, and tap into the bountiful energy that we have as a state. It's a great challenge for us. So hopefully some of you are interested in pursuing that as you move on. Thanks, Amber. Good to have you here.
Hello, I'm Sam Ortiz. I recently graduated from Ketchikan High School. And I was just wondering, what is your best advice for us as recent high school graduates for the next part of our lives?
Well, I say this cautiously because I don't want any of you to take it wrong, but I think young people should be encouraged to take a level of risk. And I'm not suggesting stupid risk, doing something, crazy and not thoughtful. But I do think you need to push yourself to do something that is not, maybe makes you a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe it's just something so brand new that you never thought that this would be an area that you would explore. I think we have a tendency to get comfortable. We don't reach out and make new friends. We don't want to go to a new community. We're kind of happy where we are. But when you take a little bit of risk by exploring, you just broaden your mind so much. And I think that is very important. I have a refrigerator magnet on my refrigerator. That would make sense, a refrigerator magnet on my refrigerator. But it says, life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to push yourself out of that comfort zone. And again, don't do stupid things, but it's okay to take on a little bit of risk. And I think you're at that point in your lives where you're leaving home, many of you, for the first time. You're going to be making new friends that maybe some of you have been in your community for your entire life, and your circle of friends has been pretty constant. It can be a little bit scary. You're going beyond your comfort zone, and that's a good thing. Good question. Thanks, Sam.
Hi, my name is Annika Grimm, and I just graduated from North Pole High School. And I was curious as to what your opinion is on the North Pole refinery being shut down.
Well, I think all of us, whether you are from North Pole or whether you're from anywhere in the interior, really anywhere in the state, are really quite concerned about the shutdown of our refinery there in North Pole at Flint Hills. When you think about the good, strong jobs, the good paying jobs in that region, some 80 jobs. Now, we're told that most of those people have been either offered employment in other parts of the business operations, but kind of tough to ask folks to make that move from North Pole, Alaska to perhaps somewhere in Oklahoma. Job is good, but there was a reason that the folks were living there in North Pole in the first place. And it's not just the lost jobs, it's what the refinery was providing, not only people of the interior, but really around the state. We only have 3 refineries in the state of Alaska. And now with Flint Hills closing, you're really limiting, again, your opportunity as a state to do things in-state, that value added. So we're going to see stresses on the railroad, because so much of the traffic that they were hauling was based with what we saw coming out of the refinery there. So you've got impact to your rail. You have impact throughout really the construction industry. It was at Flint Hills that they were producing the asphalt. So asphalt will be made somewhere else in the state, but then it's got to be transported up to the interior region, which adds to your cost. You're already living in a high-cost state. Now there are some factors out there that have really complicated the issue there with the refinery. What has happened with the discharge issues as they relate to the quality bank, and how and whether or not the state can facilitate a better path forward. But at the end of the day, when you think about the loss of jobs within the region, directly attributable to Flint Hills, and then perhaps that ripple effect that we may see in other industries and other areas, I have grave concerns about the departure. And I do think that we should not give up hope that we might be able to revitalize that important entity in the interior. We'll keep at it.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Isabella Powers, and I've recently graduated from Raven Correspondence School in Juneau. And my questions for you is, what has been your greatest achievement in your life thus far?
Well, I'm sure that people would suggest that it is some legislative achievement, whether it is here in the United States Senate or perhaps in my career in the legislature in Juneau. But truly, my greatest accomplishment, the thing that I am most proud of, and really that there's not a morning where I don't wake up thinking of them or going to sleep thinking of them. It's the children that my husband and I have raised. We've got 2 sons, 22 and now 23 and 21, and they are good, strong, loving, compassionate young men. And I look at them and think how hard it is to raise children. It's always been hard. I think, in my view, it's harder, even more now so. And so when I think about my boys and the job that both myself and my husband have done, that gives me my greatest sense of pride. Very proud of them. Thanks, Bella.
Thanks.
Good to have you here. Marcus, we're heading up to you in the backfield there.
I'm Marcus Gamble, a recent graduate of Chugiak High School. And my question is, do you think the federal government should control less land in Alaska to make development of our resources easier?
Boy, Marcus, that is the softball that you're giving me, because this is something that I think about, and our ability as a state to do so much more, not only for us as Alaskans, but really for the rest of the nation, if only we were freed up to do that. 62% of the state of Alaska is federally held. And even in those areas where it's not federally held, our ability to either access lands or to utilize resources is limited. It's limited by our federal government and our regulations. If we could get more land into the hands of individuals, the state, the tribes, our reality is that the potential that we have for development of our resources on federal land right now is being held back by policies here in Washington, D.C. And I work hard every day, particularly on the Energy Committee, to try to gain some flexibility, to try to push back so that we can access, whether it is our oil reserves in ANWR or NPRA, our mineral opportunities around the state, how we can utilize some of the trees in the Tongass National Forest so that we can have good paying jobs in the timber industry. When I was born in Ketchikan, there was a timber industry. There's like 300 jobs in the whole state anymore. So it's about accessing our lands right now. And we're not able to do it. And our potential is held back. So the very direct answer to your question is, would I support it? Do I think it would be smart? Absolutely. We don't get enough credit in the state of Alaska for doing a good job, being stewards of our own land. We're the ones that live there, that work there, that recreate there, that want to be there for the next generation. We're not going to mess it up. We can find that balance, but we need to be allowed greater opportunity to utilize our lands. So I would love to see more lands out of federal ownership and with the freedom to again, benefit our state and our country. Thanks, Marcus.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Carney Braveman. I recently graduated from West Valley High School in Fairbanks. When a strategic political plan doesn't go the way you intended, such as a bill proposal, how do you deal with the disappointment?
Well, this is where a level of patience is required in legislating. We have many, many setbacks in the legislative process. Just recently, we tried to advance a bipartisan sportsman's bill, a bill that would allow us greater access to our public lands so that we can hunt and fish on them. Some good provisions not only for Alaska, but really for sportsmen and women all around the country. Who could object? Well, it was disappointing because we weren't able to get an amendment process. We weren't able to get to really take up these issues that I think are important to Alaskans and to people around the country. Was I disappointed? Yes. Can I dwell on it and say I'm gonna hold my breath until I turn blue? No, because we have to keep moving. You don't give up, and I think that's as important as anything. That bill will be back. We will have an opportunity to regroup on it, but you really can't just kind of take it personally and say that I'm going to take my ball and go home. This is very much a group effort, and sometimes you don't like who's leading the group, and that's a bit of our problem right now. But our reality is that so much of what we do does take time. We've been trying to get ANWR open now for decades. We've been trying to advance opportunities to get legislation that would benefit our state going for years. So it requires a level of patience and not giving up. And again, going to bed at night and saying, that was kind of a bad day, but tomorrow's going to be better. We're going to work on some more, but we're not going to forget that fight because it's the right fight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Hey, I'm Diane Murph from Petersburg High School. I was wondering, what do you think needs to be done to keep up with the ever-increasing energy consumption, both in Alaska and in America?
Well, we talk about the energy three-legged stool, if you will. We've got great energy resources in Alaska. We've got our fossil fuels. We have great opportunity for renewable. But the third piece to kind of this energy stool is conservation, not using it in the first place. And when you think about how we deal with our energy resources, particularly in the area of, say, water. People don't necessarily think of water as an energy source, but quite honestly, you can't access most energy without water, and vice versa. We need energy to make water. We talk about this energy-water nexus. But think about how limited our water resource is in so many parts of the country right now. We're seeing levels of drought in California and the Southwest that are really pretty critical right now. So how we conserve, and this kind of goes back to the education piece. We need people to understand how important it is to be more efficient when it comes to energy consumption, to be more conscious about how they conserve. Coming from Petersburg, you're a community, your energy comes from hydro. Well, fortunately, you get a fair amount of rain back there, but we know that you have summers when your reserves, the reservoirs, are low. And so what does the community do? There's a consciousness. It's like, okay, maybe the water shouldn't be so free-flowing out of the tap here. But there's a consciousness and an awareness that I think we need to do a better job. And not in times of shortage, but always just be conscious of your energy consumption. And I know it sounds too easy, but it's little things like turning off the lights, unplugging things from the wall, and just being conscious of our energy consumption. As a nation, we are the biggest energy hogs in the world. That's not a very good example. We can set a better example. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ebony Sias, and I'm recently graduated from North Pole High School. I was wondering what was your favorite memory from your high school internship with Senator Ted Stevens?
Well, it was, first of all, it was a fabulous experience. And I was in the second session, just as you are. So it was really my first introduction to this heat and humidity. And I thought, this is crazy. How can anybody live or work here? But we lived through it. And there was a closeness and a bond with the other interns that is still there today. Of the 10 interns that were in my group, I still either see them or exchange Christmas cards with them. And this is, maybe more than 3 decades ago. But we really formed some great friendships. And I'm hopeful that you have gained that from this experience as well. I was one of the interns that was kind of tagged to help it was the committee on postal, not postal reform. It was the post office committee, and so they were working postal issues. And part of what I got to do was not working on the policy side of it, but I actually got to sort through all of the correspondence that came through, which was really kind of fun because you're seeing what people are commenting on. And this is before the internet. This was even before faxes. So everybody would send a letter. And you would read these handwritten letters and these commentaries from Alaskans. But it was a great experience. And the opportunity to be part of that group of young Alaskans experiencing Washington for the first time with Senator Stevens was really something that helped shape where I eventually ended up. I don't think I would have gone to Georgetown as an undergraduate student had I not been here for this internship. So it was great. Hopefully you're having as much fun. Okay, Nathan, you're last up.
Hello, my name is Nathan Seidel, and I'm a recent graduate from Colony High School. And on the behalf of all of us, I would just like to thank you once again for giving us the opportunity to be here. And my question for you today is, what do you believe is the best strategy for closing the divide of partisanship that is plaguing our political process today?
It's all about reaching out across the aisle. It is about listening respectfully to opposing views. You all come from different parts of the state. You have different perspectives. There was no screening process for you in terms of what are your political views. It was all about, come and share your ideas and hopefully show respect for an opposing view and try to even learn from that. But I think some of what you have observed in your weeks here is very partisan lines being drawn. And when you can't get out of those confines on either side, it's difficult to govern. It really is. It's difficult to get good policies that work for the entire country, that work for all Americans, regardless of their party affiliation. So I am the one who believes very, very strongly that this need for cooperation in terms of good communication, collaboration on issues. The Republicans don't have the monopoly on good ideas, nor do the Democrats have the monopoly on good ideas. So let's get all the good ideas and put them on the table and figure out how we build something, whether it's a transportation bill or appropriations bills or how we're going to deal with foreign policy. But you've got to build it working together. This has to be legislating has to be a collaborative process. This isn't about kind of throwing the grenades. This should be about working together for the good of your state and the good of the country. And we all recognize that we come from different places, but if we respect where we have come from, respect those views, we can have good, healthy debate, which is fabulous, which is what the American public expects. But we then need to take it the next step further and say, let's go beyond the debate, let's build something as part of a legislative process that works for the country. It can be done, and it will be done. We've got to get back to that place where we can govern again. So thank you all. Thank you for not only your questions today, they were all terrific, but thank you for what you do as young ambassadors for the state of Alaska. You're back here working in our office, representing our state, and I can say with a great deal of personal pride, you represent our state well. And I know that as you go off and carve your future, you will think about the small contribution that you have made working for Alaskans in your 1 month here in Washington, D.C. To our viewers back home, you've met this group of fine young Alaskans. You had an opportunity to meet the group that was here in June. I think it's just proof positive that the young people that we are seeing from around our state, coming out of our schools from all over, really do make us proud. I thank you again for all that you've done. For those of you that have joined us on this edition of the Alaska Report, we're probably not going to have nearly as much fun for another year when we will be back with our interns from 2015. So thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time on the Alaska Report.